Holy shit. Actually kind of crazy. All right, it's time for some more TenSura. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Of course, Patreon full-length reactions. Let's jump into it. Last week's episode was fucking crazy. Unlimited imprisonment. So she can store unlimited souls? This is kind of like Eren Yeager when he touches Historia's hand and, like, fucking figures everything out, huh? Damn. It kind of helps avoid a constant sense of suffering in the looping, right? Rimuru's not gonna die. That's how he felt, right? Of course, he got this. The Death of Rimuru. Now, it's not the current Rimuru we have, but still, pretty crazy. Veldora said, I'm fucking pissed. Rightfully so, mind you. Again, though, just verifying everything I've always said, that once Rimuru dies, you know, if Rimuru dies, good luck, world. Vindication. Vindication. Hey, progress, you know? For the first time. You died and he was alive? Holy shit, she's going crazy from this. Chloe, I understand mentally you're a bajillion years old, but you are still a child. Rimuru got some busty beauties on his side. Good luck. I ain't gonna lie though, if the rest of the season was all focused on a Chloe backstory, like the next 4 episodes, I'd be okay with it. So we're pretty much implying that the last loop was the most optimal loop they've had. Any differences, you have to pretty much retrace your steps nearly identical and just try to avoid her dying. Like, maybe you gotta just give a little heads up or something. Oh, and this explains why in present day, Luminous had such a connection to the body and stuff like that. Oh. You know, honestly, with what they've done with this whole Chloe shit, I might even say this is my second favorite Isekai at this point. So this is where the fake name comes in. Interesting. Again, this is just part 1. I mean, this is the type of reveal that bumps an isekai damn near to the top of your isekai list, I ain't gonna lie. The way they have clicked everything. I mean, walking into this episode was I like, oh my, like, legendary hero, but now it's like, yep, of course, it makes sense. Everything about Chloe just makes so much more sense. And what did I talk about last week? Now, granted, I was fucking dying last week. I was not doing well. Like, I borderline was ready to go to the hospital, I ain't gonna lie. Still sick, but manageable these days. But one of the things that I was interested in was the way they were talking about things is it felt very similar to me as something like a Higurashi. Now, people argue which time loop does it seem like. It doesn't fucking matter. A time loop's a time loop, right? For me, though, is like, damn, she knows a lot more than she was letting on up to this point. And they explained exactly, and there's so much to dive into. But the big thing that I was interested in was what they were going to do. Like, because a lot of shows would probably just, like, pick up exactly with, you know, Hinata dying. Actually, she's not dead, we carry on. But I think that wouldn't work. And one thing that I brought up was that what are we going to do exactly? Are we going to speed run a timeline? Are we going to get back to where we're currently at? And yeah, that's pretty much what's being implied. Chloe is very much saying that the current timeline, the one that we were following for this entire anime, is the most optimal timeline. It's the only one that Rimuru didn't die in, because usually Rimuru would die and then Hinata would die, because that's the big thing, right? When Hinata dies, it activates and it loops. So essentially, watching her 2,000 years ago, you know, stuff with Luminous and everything, she needs to try to do things as similar as possible so we can get back to that current situation. The only thing that needs to change is we need to save Hinata before that ultimate death that ended up happening with Granville. That is so interesting because a lot of people are going to be like, okay, so we're redoing Slime. Everything we did, we're losing. No. We're trying to make it as similar as possible. So when we eventually finish this flashback, granted, this was just part 1, right? And I say flashback, I know it's currently a new loop for and stuff, but it's easier for me to speak on it. By the time we pick back up, we will probably be a few moments before that ultimate death blow. Hinata stays dead in the timeline that we were in. It's just we're rebuilding into a timeline damn near identical. That's why, as much as she wanted to save Luminous's village here, she had to let it fall because that's what happened in the good timeline for her, right? It's so fucking interesting because we see so many time loop stories, so many shows that are so similar, and they very much differentiated themselves from a lot of the ones that have come in recent memory or even before. It's fascinating to see different timelines and things that have happened, relationships that she's built, and the fact that, you know, Rimuru usually dies, which is something most people aren't ready to hear, because we're so used to saying, oh my god, Rimuru can't lose. And the fact that Rimuru becoming a demon lord was actually a unique thing for this current loop that we were in, I find fascinating, right? Because once he leaves, I mean, characters like Veldora are going to start popping off, and it's so fascinating. But one thing that I find very interesting is that it's not like every time, you know, we don't know how many times. It could be hundreds, it could be thousands, it could be a dozen, maybe a handful of times Chloe has dealt with these situations and had to start again 2,000 years. It's the fact that she doesn't remember everything, right? To have all the memories, to have, it's like, it's pretty much like the previous loop is kind of in your head at that moment, and you can kind of go from there. And it stops you from kind of going insane because, you know, otherwise we might end up in a Subaru situation where you're paranoid of all these possibilities and you can't make proper decisions because you have all these variables, and the slightest of changes can make a previous variable irrelevant, right? They did such a good job at differentiating themselves from other time loop stories, while also making it feel like this didn't just come from thin air. They've been building in and foreshadowing stuff for so long, and now it just all fucking clicks. And the best way to describe this is sometimes you read or watch a show, a story, right? And what ends up happening is a big moment like this will happen, and you say, oh, this is really good. But you accept the fact that if you were to go back in, you know, previous seasons, previous episodes, there's not a lot of buildup. It's just an author came up with a really cool idea late into the story. Sometimes they retcon it very well, so it's believable that it was always planned, but a lot of times it's not that planned. This was. I remember last week's comments, people were talking about, I forget what season it was. What was it, season 2 or whatever, with Chloe in the, with the spirits and everything? Like, yeah, like everything is now just fucking clicking. And it is kind of funny though, because like without Hinata's guidance, this is just a child being like, hey, my pal Luminous, bring me to her. And they're like, the fuck this kid just say to me? Luminous actually finds it hilarious because, like, who is bold enough to be stupid enough to be rude? Like, we know each other, right? But it is interesting, right? Because it's, rather than having to suffer alone, like, that's one of the things that these shows often will do, is that the character who knows everything can't really say anything. But in this case, you have a voice in your head because Hinata's with you, right? You know, you took yours, which explains why, you know, in the previous episode when we were trying to revive Hinata, her soul wasn't there anymore. It was brought with her, right? So of course, in that line, you can't save her. But also you have characters like Luminous that she actually opens up to and properly explains that, yeah, like I loop, like I have 2,000 years of memories in my head and I need your assistance. It's so fucking cool to see what they did. And this is the type, and I said it last week, right? I said, this is the most impactful death in TenSura. And of course, the same people I expected were like, no, 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 no. What about her death? It caused Rimuru to go crazy and kill 20,000 people in season 2. Yes, that is an objectively less impactful death than this. Because this death triggered the entire... We had to fix everything we thought we knew about TenSura and completely change it into a different show. I don't give a fuck what death is more emotionally engaging for you as a viewer or for Rimuru as a character. The death of Hinata and the reveal of Chloe being a fucking time looper, the reveal that she was the hero, is a more impactful death than anything that has happened. And I don't see them topping this ever in the show to date. Like, I think by the time TenSura is a finished, complete adaptation, this death will still remain to be the most important death. Oh, but we're building into Hinata not dying because Slime can't continue because every time Hinata dies, you know, she has to re-loop. It doesn't matter. This death, it's not about making you cry about a character dying. Oh my god, I thought they were going to stay dead. It's about what a death serves in terms of a purpose of a story, and learning everything we just did with Chloe, learning what she's had to deal with. This is fucking incredible. Like, I've always assumed TenSura was a top 5 isekai for me. I've never properly given it thought, like, what is my top 5? There's certain shows I'm like, yeah, it's definitely in that top 5. And for those who don't know, ReZero is my favorite, right? It always will be. I'm not taking questions. You're not here to argue with it. That's just my favorite. But I do think TenSura at this point is my second favorite isekai. And I don't think anything else comes close to it right now. These are the types of reveals that completely reshape my worldview on a series. And I'm so fucking excited for more. If I see anyone fucking bitch and moan that we're no longer in action of present day content, I'm gonna slap you. Like, I'll find where you live and slap you. This isn't a threat, it's a promise. This is incredible content, and I'm so excited for more. Your thoughts, like, comment, subscribe, Patreon, full-length reactions to all these episodes and more. And hey, if you're already over my Patreon, you know it, I'll give you that video shout-out because my patrons are what help fund my YouTube channel. So today we got Ert Swanson, Jan Peterson, Zeekster, Refact972, Michael Latham, GG78CC, Catacult, Blood iOS, Samantha, Paul Tar, and Zen Virus. So I appreciate the support. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.